Well, hello everybody. Nice to see you out on this wonderful afternoon on a Father's Day. And what better way to spend it than to come to Bishop Hill and to get to a nice park like this and enjoy sunshine, 40% chance of sunshine, hi Gail. And we're going to cross our fingers. Huh?
Are you announcing yourself?
Sure I can. You want to come on?
Yeah.
I thought she wasn't coming, so I
Judith's taking over my job. On behalf of the Bishop Hill Arts Council, I'd like to welcome you to today's concert. Two brief announcements before I introduce Judith, who just introduced herself. One is that today's ice cream social has been canceled. I'm very sorry. They canceled this morning. Sorry. Weather, yeah. My second announcement is that the concerts are funded by the Bishop Hill Arts Council and the Illinois Arts Council, with funding also from the National Endowment for the Arts, and from our listener contributions. And if you'd like to contribute to the Arts Council to help keep this series and other Arts Council activities going, you're welcome to do that. Later on, I'll be around with a basket and you can make a contribution, and I'll pass out programs while Judith is starting up here. And, now I'd like to introduce the lady who just introduced herself, Judith Simundson Mahlberg. I hope you'll help me give her a big welcome.
Thank you. One of the subjects that people find really fascinating concerning Scandinavian folklore is trolls. And I have, just as many of you, I have found them equally fascinating. There's a troll who is the king of the trolls, who is going out to get more treasure. He is a hoarder of treasure. He doesn't use it for anything. He just holds it in his cave and kind of fingers it and plays with it, you know, and in the dim light it glitters. And so that's all he does with his treasure. But some is not enough. And so he goes out to look for more. And he comes to a widow's home, and she doesn't like the look of him. She can tell from a long way off that this guy is no good. She doesn't want him in her house even, because she's afraid he'll never leave, and then worse yet, he would eat up all their food. And so she goes out to meet him and tells him, "We got nothing to eat, and we got nothing to drink either." And at that moment, her daughter comes and stands in the doorway of the house, and the sun shines on her blonde hair, and the troll, who can't see very well, thinks that her hair is gold. And he wants to collect her. Well, they argue for many verses. The ballad originally has 26 verses, but we won't do that many today. Now, I hope we're in business here with our microphones, huh?
She was not satisfied with her life. Here it rains and it blows deep in the mountains, under the earth, what is her place? The troll king she's far away. Here it rains and it blows. Deep in the mountains, under the earth, my fears are laid. Don't go, little Chelsea, her mother cried. Her grandpa flies away. There are so many boys here who want to marry you, though it rains and it blows. Deep in the mountains, under the earth, I'll see their face. But talking said to her, the good I'm here, but fires will sometimes burn. Ride with me to the mountains which are far away. Here it rains and it blows. Deep in the mountains, under the earth, I'll see their face. Little Chelsea, she rode away with him that day. Her grandpa right away. She ate and drank with the trolls that night. Oh, it rains and it blows. Deep in the mountains, under the earth, I'll see their face. I live in the mountains, and here will I die. Your grandpa flies away, and here is my husband, the king of the trolls. Though it rains and it blows, deep in the mountains, under the earth, I'll see the place.
Thank you. Well, trolls are not to be trusted in any shape or form. Sir Olaf, he's called that because he's rich, and it's a mark of respect, not for any other reason. When I first started getting acquainted with this song, I thought it was Saint Olaf, and it's not. Can you hear me okay? He's about to get married, and, you know, before telephones and instant communication, and before the post office, people had to deliver their messages, and he wants his neighbors and friends and relatives to really feel welcome. So he himself goes out to invite them to come to his wedding. Now, I live in Dubuque, Iowa. Let's talk up here. I feel a little more comfortable here. And around in Iowa, we have a lot of hollows with fog certain times of the year, and a mist that'll just hang down in those hollows. And there's a real weird smell that comes out of the woods when that mist hangs heavy over those little hollows. A little bit, I suppose it's the odor of decaying leaves, though I've never burrowed in leaves, you know, the rotting ones, to be sure that that's the smell. He comes to an open meadow near a wood, and there's a fog hanging down in that meadow. And this is just before dawn, when the gray light is coming and things are uncertain. And he sees a shape of a woman dancing in that fog. And then it's 4 or 5 dancing, and one of them beckons to him. Come in and dance with me.
As he came to a meadow so green, a misty elf forget your wedding day. Oh, nightly we dance to the bright green meadow. Next morning before dawn, between buildings on the farm, pale lace the wool upon his black beard. The light goes to dance to the bright green meadow. Well, Olaf and his bride were joined at last. The two came together in the black earth. The light goes to dance to the bright green meadow.
There are lots of different kinds of trolls. Thank you. And one of them are the hidden trolls. These are called hulders. And hulders look just like ordinary people. And they live and work just like ordinary people, except for the fact that the young girls usually have a cow's tail draping from under their skirts. And of course they try hard to keep that ropey thing kind of knotted up under the waistband, but now and then it'll flip out and betray them. Now the hulders, both the men and the women, like to marry humans, because then if they were married in the church, the girl's tail would drop off, and then she'd get a soul. She wouldn't be quite so lonely anymore. But the thing is about hulders, they're very strong-minded, and so the human who gets involved with a hulder probably can't be totally in charge, if you know what I mean. And so if that's a person's plan, then it's best not to get involved with hulders at all. There was a hulder man who had fallen in love with a girl who was really beautiful. She was from Oscar, near Christiania, that's Oslo. And he came around a lot and was kind of hanging around and bothering her, and I guess she just didn't like him. And so she asked friends and neighbors how to get rid of him. And she tried various things and nothing worked. But then she talked to a very wise old woman, and the woman told her what to do. And this is what she did. The next time the hulder man came to visit, she said, "I've got such an awful sick cow, a young heifer. Oh, she's so ailing all the time. Can you give me some advice?" "Yeah, I can help you with that," he said. He said, "You tie around her neck 3 things, Daphne, honeysuckle, and orchid, and then that heifer will be just fine in no time at all." "Oh, thank you so much." And so she got her Daphne, honeysuckle, and orchid. Only instead of tying them round the neck of the heifer, she hung them round her own neck. And the next time he came courting her, he was furious. "I never would have told you that if I'd known what you were going to do with it. No, I won't come here anymore." Well, he didn't. And she married a poor cotter, and they had many children, and so life was hard for her. And one fall, she was out working in the field, she herself digging and harvesting. And the hulder man came by, and he said, "Now look at you. Just look at the life you had. You could have had riches with me. You could have lived fine. But no, you didn't want it. Well, now you must live the way you do." I think today there's not enough storytelling. And I've learned a song from, partly with some grants from the Iowa Arts Council and the Norwegian government, and now most recently with a small grant from the Sons of Norway Heritage Foundation. I've been going to Norway to study songs, and I've learned a lot of songs from Margrethe Oppheim in Voss, and this is her costume. This is her bunad from Voss. And one song that I've translated is please sing me a Hulder song. Now, Hulders lived in the mountains, on the hillside, and if you lost a cow or even a whole herd, and then you got them back again, often they'd be changed. They'd be changed colors a little bit, and they often took on a kind of smoky blue quality, I suppose from their contact with the Hulders. Hulders, really, you have to be kind of careful. If you lose your cow to a Hulder, you really won't get it back. Sometimes I kind of wonder, how we're getting through. Well, in Setesdal, in 1351, there was a terrible plague that ravaged all of Europe, and it was really devastating in Norway. In most areas lost half the population, and some areas lost 2/3. Setesdal is a district, county, and they had severe losses during that terrible plague, and in one area of the valley it was practically deserted. Well, there was one old couple left, Tore and Knut, and they continued to live on in the old way right there, there was no reason to move, but the only thing that bothered them was that they really didn't know the date. And so when it was getting close to shorter days of the year, getting close to Christmas time, they talked about this a long time and wondered what to do. And finally they agreed that Tore should go and try to contact some people far away in the next valley and find out what date it was. Well, she wrapped up a little lunch for herself, and she set out early in the morning. And she walked pretty near most of the whole day. And finally she stopped to rest and eat a little bit under the lee of a mountain. And it was quiet there, wind blowing a little bit. And all of a sudden, from inside the mountain, she heard, "Hurry, hurry, Toya, bake your Christmas bread. Night's but one, day's but two, then it's Christmas time again. Hurry,
Nights but one, days but two, then it's Christmas time again.
And oh, she was so happy to learn what the date was. Immediately she went right back home and told her husband, oh, Christmas is here. We got to get ourselves ready. We got little time now. And they had a good Christmas feast that year. Well, I could tell you how these Hulder folk got started. There are a couple of versions. One is that God created Adam and Eve in chapter 1 of Genesis. And this couple was equal. None of that rib out of the side stuff, you know. And this first woman's name was Lilith, or Lily, or something like that. And it was either God or Adam who wasn't quite satisfied with this arrangement, so they decided to put her away and all her children. And so then in the second chapter of Genesis, we hear that God made Adam, and out of his side he made this woman, and her name was Eve. Well, I don't know if that's the real version, but here's another way to look at it. Eve and Adam had so many children that it was really embarrassing. I mean, 80 or 100 children. And you know, it was so much work keeping up with all those children, you know. Eve was getting worn thin trying to keep them all clean and fed, you know. Well, one day, God dropped by unexpectedly. And God said, "Yeah, well, how are you today, Eve?"
Oh, just fine, Lord, yeah, just fine.
"Yeah, well, how's the family?"
Oh, they're just wonderful, Lord, just wonderful.
Well, could I see them?
Oh, yeah, sure.
And so she went out back, and she gathered up all the clean ones. You know, the dirty ones had been playing behind a wood pile, and they were a mess, and she didn't have time now to clean them up. So she took the clean ones out, and she got them to stand in a nice long row. Oh, it stretched so far. And God said, "My, oh my, what a fine family you got here, Eve." Yup. Yup. But is this all you got?
Yeah, Lord. Yeah.
Well, all right then. And from that day forward, only those children who had stood in the light of God could walk on the earth in the sun, and the rest of them had to stay hidden. And they were the Hulder folk. Well, I'll do a little song with a lyre. This is, I've been playing a Norwegian folk harp, which comes from 1500s, and this lyre, it dates to the 14th century. And in some ways, I guess it sounds a little bit like a guitar. It has, but except that you can't fret it and change keys, you know, as you're playing. So it's somewhat limited, but still a lot of fun. Can you hear it? Come, let us write now a little song. Come, let us sing now a little verse. rippling songs are so glad and free. I learned that song from Margrethe Opheim, and also this next one. In kom han Ola, druschen han var, spelte og slo I bordet. Kärringe oppra, røysen I sprang, sparte kan nå han gjorde. Alt det du vil, all det du bli, sole sa du vår, men verre kan du bli. Så slo han Ola, kärringe fri, nei undras ikke om å grine. In came he, Ola, drunk again, staggering to the table. Up jumped his wife and rushed around, trying hard to please him. Always are you idle, never do you work. Always are you lazy, and always do you shirk. So said he, Ola, as he beat her up, and that's the way it was for them. Not very funny, really, though. Well, there's a Telemark song about a woman who becomes a witch. And I thought this was kind of peculiar. I mean, becoming a witch. But in Norwegian folk literature, you can become a troll. You know, as we age, some of us get a little peculiar. I've been noticing it myself. And, you change a little bit, you know, you look a little bit different, and if this goes on too long and your friends and neighbors get a little aggravated with you, well then, you know, they can say, you're turning into a troll. Well, if a troll, why not a witch? My little boy, when he was 2.5, told me I was turning into a witch, and he was real serious about it. That was a real shock. for all the fathers and grandmothers and grandfathers and families out there, I'll sing a little Aslak Brekke song. He's a great, is not alive now, but was a great telemark singer. And in the old way of singing, people don't use instruments. And so I'll try this like I did with that other song just a bit ago. When I was a little girl, I sat beside the winter fire. The room was warm just like in springtime. Logs burned brightly on the hearth. Kitty dozed upon the bench and was so happy that he purred. Grandma sat alone, rocking in her cozy cubisto. Grandma told when she was young and all the things that happened then. How she called and herded cattle, how she loved to run and dance. Those were boys and those were girls. She said they were livelier. Boys and girls were stronger then, and they were such a joy to see. I went over to my grandma and I softly stroked her arm. Then I promised not to run on benches, knocking tables down. If she'd only tell me now a story, if she'd be so awfully kind and so I'd win her over. Oh, it's looking gray over there. We're doing all right though, right? I'm going to be tuning my harp. Unfortunately, you have to sit for this. Now we'll see how good I am. Check it. You know that if we get rain, we'll be in the Colony Church. It's only a block away. What's happening here? Too low. Not quite as bad as the hard on our fiddle. They are really tricky to tune. Got so many understrings. Do you know any hard on our fiddlers? Do you? Wonderful. My favorite instrument. Okay. Well, farming styles have changed an awful lot. And when I was a kid, I stayed with a girlfriend on her dad's farm during the summer sometimes, and believe me, they farmed in the old way. They had running water in the house, but you had to pump for it. And of course there was a cistern that had been used for years and years and years, and it was full. And they started putting a bathroom in, but then they decided it wasn't worth it because they bought this house in town, so then they were sidewalk farmers, and what's the use when you're only there 4 months of the year? So, there we were. Oh, the folks that I knew on the very long ago, how they lived in those days seemed so very different now. There was Dagmar in Oxford and Little Judith with the White House on the farm and the circle was in town. I went out to the farm when I was only 10 and helped with the
one all by myself. We chopped up pigs, scattered grain for the hens in the fall, then we butchered, and that was such a sight. The cauldron of water was boiling in the yard. Oscar swung at his chopping block for headless chicken hands. Then Dagmar held each chicken by the feet, dipped their neck first in the water, then pulled the feathers out. In the kitchen they were gutted and laid out to cool, with thin feathers waiting to be plucked out. All those windows we washed in those days long ago, are they broken, are they shattered, are they boarded up at last? Yes, those days were long ago, and many things have changed. I wonder if the old vine still stands against the wind.
Well, a Norwegian wrote this song, and he described, he didn't write the song, he just wrote the text, and I put it onto this melody. He described he profiled the Scandinavian personalities, Norwegians and Swedes and Danes and so on.
Long ago in Norway wrote a history of Norwegian folk. Claims Norwegians have the broadest chests and are the tallest of all Europeans. Are distinguished for their intelligence, high moral character and truthfulness, and are deeply religious, hard-working, thrifty, independent folk. Now Owen Norley says the Swedes are very much like the Norwegians. They have settled in the same areas and been on good terms with them. But the first creamery, the first cow testing association in this land, and the first co-op dairy farming were established by the Danes.
Now, Danes are sociable and
Pleasure-loving, moderating, vice and virtue. Norwegians are more independent and unsociable and stoic. But the Swedes are the most refined and aristocratic of them all. Kings and Icelanders are respected all across America.
Well, a Swedish composer, Carl Michael Bellman, is probably the foremost of Swedish folk music poets and musicians and songwriters. He was living in the 1700s, and life in and around Stockholm was really difficult. You know, those are the days when they threw their waste material directly onto the streets and then wondered why they were plagued with plagues and problems. And so summers were sometimes dangerous to live in a major city like Stockholm. And so if you could afford it, if you had a country place, you went there, spent the summer, but then it was boring out there. And Bellman was really a hedonist. He enjoyed all aspects of life. But he was also mindful of the brevity of life, and this duality is present in nearly every one of his songs. So he grabs the moment and seizes the day and makes the best of it and enjoys it, but he's also very much aware that the days are numbered. The average person in those days probably did not live beyond 35. Of course, if you survived childhood, you might make it to 40, but, you know, your days were numbered after 40. So he died of syphilis, unfortunately.
Old man Noah was an enormous man, walked out to his ark, planted he a vineyard.
drink. And there's another Belmont song that I learned. I was in Bishop Hill a year ago. And at that time there was a Swedish goldsmith here. And he was also a singer and musician. But that's not how he made his livelihood. Isn't this a wonderful tuner? For stringed instruments, acoustic instruments. I left my tuner at home. That doesn't sound right either, does it? It isn't right either. Okay, so this song is another Belmont song that I learned from Bo when I was here a year ago. And here you really hear the Belmont philosophy. Svampar ut i munnen på, ikke lekt å sove så for hopper og så gå. Klemmer den hjertet tenker på, synger vise danske folket tumlet og da. Ryd mine flasker vil jeg somna, eventlige vaknar opp. Når min hjertar bor i årdomna, saktar seg mitt lov. Drinking nectar, sleeping well and waking up so fresh. Thinking about joy with a full heart. Singing off-key dancing, polkas tumbling there and there. With my flask I'll fall asleep. With a girl will I wake up. When my heart is dwelling here in the middle of life. Savoring roast beef in my mouth. Drinking nectar, sleeping well and waking up so fresh. Thinking about joy with a full heart. Singing off-key dancing, polkas tumbling there and there. With my flask I'll fall asleep. With a girl will I wake up. When my heart is dwelling here in the middle of life. I think it's just wonderful that our weather is holding for us. Aren't we lucky? It's dumping all that rain on the fields right where they're needed, and for us, we get a nice Sunday afternoon to have some fun together. Well, I gotta retune. Just a little bit. Scandinavians, arrived and found the streets paved with gold, a lot of them had a real tough life, and their grandchildren are enjoying a much different life than they themselves had when they survived those first few years, some in dugout homes, and some in little soddy houses, and some in makeshift places, or staying with people until they could, make a better dwelling. And my cousin wrote this little poem about the life our grandmother had on the eastern Montana prairie, where the wind blew mercilessly and dried and burned the crops up. And so I set it to music. It's called "What is the Cost of a Bit of Thread?" What is the cost of a bit of thread? What is the cost of thread? Even on that sailing farm she could spare the expensive time to sweat while the potatoes were cooling in the wash, overheating, or in the long mute nights. Her fingers worrying the tiny shuttle, pressing the thread to lace. She lost herself by the hissing lamp, lost herself by the lamp, keeping boots and not the wind, imagining the clean froth of lace, cuffing the new round head, patting a Swedish cap for the baby to wear on Sundays on that empty Montana farm. We got about another minute, do you think, before the clouds open? I think we get the idea that, I don't know, at least I used to have the idea that Scandinavians, especially those from Scandinavia, had no sense of humor. And that isn't true. And there's a little Aslak Brekka song that's got a little twist to it. I can just get myself in the right. And I think maybe this will have to be our last one before we get rained on. But I've got another concert coming up at 3, you probably know that. And I think we'll be in the Colony Church, where it's dry. Well, this one is a Telemark song. I've been learning the repertoire of Aslak Brekka from Telemark. And this one is called "My Father's Name is Eyvind," and his name is Svein. That's not a common Scandinavian name, not used much in America. Svein is a poor boy. His dad is the hired man on the place, and his mother works out. And so he has nothing except what he's got on his back. And he's fallen in love with the boss's daughter. And his chances of having her dad approve of a marriage are really not very good.
When you were on a slab if time we'll have with our many children round. I cannot help but think the cradle soon will rock, and we'll surely have a boy. And if the boy should live, then we'll call him Knut for joy. Thank you. Hey, it almost looks like a little tiny bit of sunshine. Well, I'm wondering, you look all settled in and comfortable. You want one more song? Okay. The sunshine is really encouraging. This is my auto harp. It's a companion of the zither, very similar to a zither. I think originally the instrument came from Germany, but I'm not positive. And there was an American who really changed the instrument, made a lot of adaptations, improved it. And there are people who pick their auto harps. This isn't terribly ladylike, but it's so much faster than strapping on, a band. It's so much faster. Well, there was a Swede who performed in Wisconsin a lot named Otto Blihose, and his wife played a ragtime piano, and he had a friend who played bass, and he played guitar, and he went around and sang, and they did a lot of dances, and they had a lot of fun. And I think this song is a lot of fun. Are you hearing the auto harp now? Maybe I should direct this mic over. Is anybody going to Michigan or North or South Dakota? I'm selling gumaloos door to door, but it's hard to make my quota. By the way, do you know what gumaloos is? It's old cheese. A little bit like Limburger. And so this guy he is a salesman, and he has his samples in the car in the summer before air conditioning. Is anybody going to Michigan or North or South Dakota? I'm selling gumaloos door to door, but it's hard to make my quota. I grew up on gumaloos, so did my mother and father. Now that I am growing old, I just can't stand the odor. Is anybody going to Michigan or North or South Dakota? I'm selling gumaloos door to door, but it's hard to make my quota. I'm getting tired of this tremolo stiff, that's why I tell you this. Oh, I'm only quit selling gumaloos, then I'll start selling Swiss. Is anybody going to Michigan or North or South Dakota? I'm selling gumaloos door to door, but it's so hard to make my quota. And we'll close this portion with a little Swedish song, O Jänta. På landavägen och jag och allt på landavägen. Där mötte jag mig en morgon på glada skola, och sen kom till min insurröda växta som lyser magen i här. Mitt hjärta var så vart vägen. Allt på landavägen och jag allt på landavägen. Där mötte min morgon så glada skola, och sen kom till min insurröda växta som lyser magen hurra. Mitt hjärta var så vart vägen. Thank you so much. We've got enough.
Hi, I'm Gail Hintz, and on behalf of the Bishop Hill Arts Council, I'd like to welcome you to today's concert. Today's Ice Cream Social is sponsored by the Bishop Hill Heritage Association, and I hope that after the concert you'll all go up and visit them and have a nice piece of pie with some delicious ice cream or something of that sort. My only other announcement is that this concert is sponsored by the Bishop Hill Arts Council and partially funded by the Illinois Arts Council and National Endowment. And it's also partially funded by donations. And I will be coming around with a basket, and if you'd like to give a donation to help support this series and other activities of the Bishop Hill Arts Council, you can do so at that time. And now I'd like you to help me give a warm welcome to Lee Murdock.
Thank you very much, Gail. Well, how's everybody doing today? Good. We have a lovely day. It's a far cry from what it was 24 hours ago. That's for sure. Did you have rain 24 hours ago? Do you know what you were doing 24 hours ago? Oh, it's the weekend. You're asking me to work. Here's a lovely tune that I really enjoy singing. It comes from down New Orleans way. 'Twas on one fine March morning I bid New Orleans adieu. I took the road to Jacksontown, my fortune to renew. I cursed all foreign money, no credit could I gain, which turned my heart to longing for the lakes of Pontchartrain. I boarded on a railroad car in the early morning sun. I rode the rods till evening, then laid me down again. All strangers there, no friend to me, till a dark girl toward me came. And I fell in love with that Creole girl by the lakes of Pontchartrain. Oh, I said, my pretty Creole girl, my money here is no good. And if not for the alligators, I would sleep out in the wood. You're welcome here, kind stranger. Our house is very plain, but we've never turned a stranger out to the banks of Pontchartrain. Oh, she took me to her mammy's house, and she treated me right well. And the hair upon her shoulders and jet black ringlets fell. To try and paint her beauty, I'm sure it would be in vain. So handsome was my Creole girl by the lakes of Pontchartrain. Asked if she would marry me, but she said that never could be, for she had got a lover and he was out to sea. She said that she would wait for him, and true she would remain, till he returned to his Creole girl by the lakes of Pontchartrain. So it's fare you well, my Creole girl, I may not see you more, Christmas in that cottage by the shore, and at each social gathering a flowing glass I will drain, and I'll drink a health to my Creole girl by the lakes of Pontchartrain. Thank you very much. Well, get you singing along here when the chorus comes along. If you know it, please join in. At the old farmhouse veranda, there sat Silas and Miranda, thinking of the days that had gone by. He said, dearie, you're so weary, and you're always bright and cheery. Now a tear, dear, dims your eye. She said, these aren't tears of sadness, Silas, they are tears of gladness, for it's 50 years ago that we were wed. And his grim old heart did lighten, and his grim old face did brighten, as he turned to Miranda and he said, put on your old gray bonnet with the blue ribbons on it, while I hitch old Dobbin to the shed. And through the fields of clover we'll ride down to Dover on our golden wedding day. Once again, put on your old gray bonnet with the blue ribbons on it, while I hitch old Dobbin to the shed. And through the fields of clover we'll ride down to Dover on our golden wedding day. Many times I consider folk songs like living room furniture. Stay with me on this now. Living room furniture, sometimes, you know, you get a little bit down in the doldrums, or you just don't know exactly what's wrong, and just changing things around in the living room, putting up some new wallpaper, some fresh paint, does wonders for the psyche, doesn't it? Well, sometimes you can do the same thing with folk songs. And this 91-year-old gentleman named Dr. Fred Young of Evanston, Illinois, felt compelled to rearrange this song a little bit, and this is the result. Gone our farmhouse and veranda, gone our Silas and Miranda, and gone our old Dobbin and the shade, and gone our fields of clover. Now that traffic's taken over since he put the toll road through the other day. And Silas in the city, he thinks that it's a pity that they never more shall see the golden days. But with cause for celebration and women's liberation, Miranda turned to Silas and she said, forget that old gray bonnet with the faded ribbons on it, and let us join the footloose crowds that roam, and let the leaders of our nation fight the taxes and inflation while we enjoy our mobile home. Thank you. We have any farmers in the audience? 1, 2, 3. We have any ex-farmers in the audience? 1. Oh, only one of you will admit it, huh? Okay. Well. Of you farmers, how many consider yourselves dairy farmers? Nobody. Do we have to go north of the border to find dairy farmers? Seems like it. I live in Caneville, just halfway between Aurora and DeKalb, western part of Kane County. It's still very, very rural out there, at least for the next 2 or 3 years. And there's one dairy farmer left in Caneville, and he was kind of lamenting the fact that he has to deliver all of his milk north of the border. Now, in Aurora, we have a very fine dairy called Oberweis Dairy, of which we actually get milk delivery way out in Caneville, 15 miles away. And I said, well, why don't you haul it into Aurora? He said, I don't like those people. So this is dedicated to that dairy farmer in Caneville. Well, I start my day in the sun up dark. I'm going down the lane to get my milk cows up. I got Holsteins, Guernseys, the one-eyed steer, an old brown cow that jumps fences like a deer. The dew is on the ground and my feet are wet. Got a light in my hand and a hat on my head. Going to the pasture to get my herd. They're chewing their cuds and looking at the birds. Getting in the cows, shoe 'em in the barn, put 'em in the stanchion, turn the radio on. Milk 'em all dry, send 'em out again. Wait a month on the dairy for the check to come in. Well, get up, you cows, and get 'em on the move. The rudders are swinging like watering balloons up to the barn, and they know their place with the lead one first, then they close the gate. Bring the cart around and give them some feed. They lick their noses, slap their ears at me. I put on the machine and it feels so good to let down the milk like a good cow should. Getting in the cows, shoe 'em in the barn, put 'em in the stanchion, turn the radio on. Milk 'em all dry, send 'em out again. Wait a month on the dairy for the check to come in. Now a tourist says that a cow's face is fine, but I see the other end most of the time. I work all summer, put hay in the mow, and work all winter just to feed it to the cow. My milking's all done, got the weather report, got my day all planned for my job of work. Back to the pasture goes half of my life. I'm going in the house and hug my wife. Getting in the cows, shoe 'em in the barn, put 'em in the stanchion, turn the radio on. Milk 'em all dry, send 'em out again. Wait a month on the dairy for the check to come in. Getting in the cows, shoe 'em in the barn, put 'em in the stanchion, turn the radio on. Milk 'em all dry, send 'em out again. Wait a month on the dairy for the check to come in. It's called Getting in the Cow. That song was written by a Minnesotan fella named Charlie McGuire. And songwriting is an important aspect of folk music. See, a lot of times people say, well, if I sing folk songs, they're songs that are just from the past, and that's a part of folk music, but most of us that are singing folk songs now consider folk music a part of the living tradition, and living is the important word in that statement. Because songwriting, as we all know, is a form of, in a way, it's a form of literature, and it's really fun for me, being a folk singer, to see that songwriters are becoming popular again in the mainstream circles. Here's one of my offerings about a true story from the town that I grew up in, Barrington, northwest of Chicago. And it's a true story. I'll tell you a story, I swear that it's true. Some of the details I can't relate to you. You see, I was quite young then, but now I'm growing old. So gather round and listen to this tale as it unfolds. I was the youngest of 8 with our land in civil war, and I had to remain to help my father tend the store. The work, it was hard, and the dollars, they were few. Only then I wished that I could be a soldier in blue. My brother James Alfred was only 18 years. Enlisting help, old honest Dave was heard both far and near. So he went off to war in the 19th Infantry, a young boy southward bound on a train for Tennessee. While I was here at home up in northern Illinois, little did I learn of death, of pain, of love and joy. But James' point of view is changing in the fields of war and strife. When your gun and friends are all that count, as you hold on to your life. While standing guard at dusk, he was joking with his pal. You see, a year of confrontation had tempered their morale. But a shot barked out through the night. James looked into the sky. At that moment on our porch, he gave his last goodbye. On April 17th, 1862, in the evening when we heard the pounding sound of heavy shoes, well, Ma looked out the window and saw James Alfred there on the porch with his rifle and his eyes up in the air. Well, Ma cried, "James Alfred, you've come home from the war." And with me behind Dad and Ma, we bolted for the door. But when the door was opened, no one was standing there, just the dust on the porch and the cool, clear night air. So now that war has been over for many, many years, between that dreadful time and now this tale's been told both far and near. So the memory of James Alfred, and I'll pass on to you. He left to be a soldier, but came back a ghost in blue. Thank you. While we're on the subject of ghosts, I do a number of songs about the Great Lakes. Now, you might have mentioned, how many of you here saw Privateer? Any of you? A few of you? Now, they were here for the first show, and Tom and Chris are very good friends of mine. I recorded one of their songs. But they do, I think the bulk of their material, of course, is Great Lakes material. And I have a very, very large soft spot for that music myself. I'll give you one that was written by a Milwaukee writer named Larry Penn. Now, in Great Lakes lore, there's a lot of vessels that we just don't know what ever happened to them. And most of these vessels were lost before there was a lot of radio transmission. And this particular one is called the Bannockburn. Bannockburn was on the other side of the border. It was a Canadian vessel. And this is its story. Oh, the Bannockburn was a ship, my friend, sailed away with 20 men, never came back to Port Arthur again. I said, Mayday. Sailed away in 1902, crossed the water cold and blue. It never locked down through the Sioux. I said, Mayday. When the lakes are on the rise, the sailors say, I thought I saw her riding by the other way. Thought I saw her stack and all. Thought I heard the whistle call. Hey, hey, we're over this way. I said, Mayday. Now the Bannockburn was downward bound. It left the lakes without a sound. The weather calmed for days around. I said, Mayday. Nobody knows where it went. There was no radio message sent. We looked all over on the lakes for them. I said, Mayday. When the lakes are on the rise, the sailors say, I thought I saw her riding by the other way. Thought I saw her stack and all. Thought I heard the first mate call. Hey, hey, we're over this way. I said, Mayday. Now I don't believe in ghosts, I guess, fairy tales and all that's left. But this one legend just don't rest. I said, Mayday. Ah, the Bannockburn is on a trip, and like the Flying Dutchman myth, no one on that phantom ship will cry Mayday. When the lakes are on the rise, the sailors say, I thought I saw her riding by the other way. Thought I saw her stacking all. Thought I heard the black gang call. Hey, hey, we're over this way. I said, Mayday. The Great Lakes wild and wet, there have been some famous wrecks, but this one hasn't ended yet. I said, Mayday. And in the winter lay up cold, when sailors sit around the stove, the Bannockburn is the story told. I said, Mayday. When the lakes are on the rise, the sailors say, I thought I saw her riding by the other way, rolling steady as she goes, heard the whistle as it blows. Hey, hey, we're over this way. I said, Mayday. Rolling steady as she goes, heard the whistle as it blows. Hey, hey, we're over this way. I said, Mayday. This next Great Lakes song is a very new one. I came across this story, well, actually a friend of mine named Larry Swenson and his wife Ginny. They came across this story about 4 years ago when they were doing some what is termed primary research over on the east side of Lake Michigan in the Whitehall, Montague area, kind of halfway, well, just a little north of Muskegon. And this occurred in September of 1930. The storm was raging across the lake, and at that time, a Great Lakes freighter named the William Nelson, captained by a fellow named Moore, M-O-H-R, left Escanaba with a load of iron ore bound for South Chicago. Across the lake, at the same time, Joseph Sidoni was having a party in the Whitehall area. And also at the same time, just a little north of there in Ludington, Michigan, one of the last schooners on the Great Lakes, the Our Sun, left with a load of cedar shakes bound for Wisconsin. And those seemingly three separate events come together in an enchanting true story, which resulted in Captain Moore receiving the Congressional Medal of Honor, most decorated captain on the Great Lakes. This is a true story titled The Captain and the Mystic. does he think he's doing? What next will he do? Why should he place in peril this vessel and its crew? Captain Moore should know in a big sea like this, if you stay to the lee shore, the seventh wave you'll miss. But he's pulled us full out into the lake, with all our hopes and dreams left floating in its wake. And there's nothing we can do that can never make him take the course that will lead us to our safety's sake. Everyone on board says he's gone round the bend. Oh, will we have a chance to set foot on land again? What does he have to prove? The most decorated of the lake captains. Where does he think he's going on a stormy day like this? Can you tell me, Joe Sidoni, what brings you out in this? What visions do you see from the Michigan shore? Can you tell me if you see any tragedy in store? There is a schooner sinking on the lake, with 7 men aboard, their future they forsake, with shrouds and sails in tatters, and they may never make it home to their families, loved ones' hearts at stake. But everyone round here says he's gone round the bend. No schooners have been seen sailing on the lakes for 10 years or more. Just as well, there's a chance those men might make landfall again. Now how can it be on a stormy lake like this that a rescue can be offered to an ancient sailing ship? There is another ship, one that is very long, and if her captain follows his feelings that are strong, then he'll change course in the middle of the lake, sail toward calmer waters, a safe harbor for to make. There is a chance that he will come upon those souls forsaken, who've lost all hope of ever giving back the love they've taken. But everyone on board says he's gone round the bend. Oh, will we have a chance to set foot on land again? What does he have to prove? The most decorated of the lake captains. I don't need to tell you just how this story ends, about the rescue attempted and the saving of those men, or of Captain Moore's hunches that he followed all his years to the benefit of all the lives he saved in his career. And I don't need to tell you of the mystic of the lake, who foretold so many dangers and the lives that were at stake, or of the many stories that seem so unreal, yet touch us in our lives and we all try to conceal. Just remember, things may not always appear the same to you and me and to all that we hold dear. The captain and the mystic proves to us year after year that what you feel in your soul might just one day become clear. And who cares if they say that you've gone round the bend? It's your life that you lead, it's on you that you depend. And the feelings that you have, you might feel them again and again. Who cares if they say that we've gone round the bend? It's our lives that we lead, it's on us that we depend. And the visions that we see, let us see them again and again. Thank you. Well, I really enjoy playing guitar. It's a lot of fun for me. Now, I've been singing a lot longer than I've been playing guitar. I think I started singing, at least legend has it, I started singing when I was 4 years old. There's some documentation for that also, by the way. See, when I was 4 years old, living in Lombard, Illinois, we had a block party, and there was all kinds of people all around, with all the blankets in the backyard and all that stuff. I'm sure you all remember that, and lots of food and talking and kibitzing and that type of thing. And nobody, not one single person, was paying any attention to me at all. So, being the ham that I was, I went into our garage, picked up a black plastic badminton racket, started walking around strumming the racket as a guitar, singing "You Ain't Nothing But a Hound Dog." We have photographic evidence of that, I'm sorry to say. At any rate, so I started singing when I was real young, and singing was a lot of fun for me. It really was, but it never got me out of any chores because, you know, you don't need your hands to sing. And so I started picking up the guitar, and it might have gotten me out of a few chores. And certainly in later life, it's gotten me out of a lot of chores. And so I enjoy just sitting around and playing the guitar and figuring out all different types of things, perhaps some things that have no business being played on the guitar. And let me give you one here. This is an Irish tune. It's probably one of the, not the most famous, but one of the most popular among certain circles, among Irish circles. Written by a fellow named Turlough O'Carolan many hundreds of years ago. And titled Shebeg and Shemore. Thank you very much. Here's another one. This is a little bit more fun to listen to, and if you feel compelled to jump up and down in your place while nobody's looking, you can do that. This is titled Bouncing on the Bed. Sometimes people say, Lee, that's a bit too much, you having 3 guitars on stage. Leave a guitar for somebody else, you know. They just don't understand. Well, maybe they do. Some people like to collect all different types of things. Some people earn their living off of collecting all different types of things, right? And then they sell them once they go up in value. And if they don't go up in value, well, then they don't buy them, see? So. But I like the different sounds of guitars. And this one I've kind of altered a little bit to get a little bit higher tone. So it can be reminiscent of a higher toned instrument like a harpsichord or a small harp of some type. Let me play a couple more instrumental tunes here. This is titled, another Carolyn tune titled John O'Connor. Yeah. Thank you. I have a dear friend who lives in Aurora. He's a carpenter. He calls himself a wood butcher. We have any carpenters in the audience? No carpenters. Do we have anybody who likes to dabble in woodworking as a hobby? A couple of you, okay. I was always wondering where that term wood butcher came from, and it seems to me that in the old logging camps, they had some interesting names for people. Carpenters were called wood butchers. Guess what the person who sharpened the saws were called? Can you imagine? Dentists. Think about it. And of course, all the little critters that ran around the cabins and all that, you know, the lice and all that stuff. Can you imagine what they called them? Small game. So, Peter is a fine guitarist in his own right and banjo player, and about 6 years ago now, he and his wife Diane had a little boy and named him Eric, and Eric was having difficulty sleeping at nights. And Pete was one of these souls from 20 years ago, you know, who would play his instruments into the wee hours of the morning. Even though he had a straight job, he had to work for the county the next day, you know, but he just loved to get enthralled with his instruments. And so when Eric didn't sleep, that worked out just fine. Instead of playing in the living room, he'd go into the nursery and play. And Eric got to the point where he really liked that. And in fact, he liked this one particular melody that his dad was working on. He was kind of a songwriter in his own right, Peter was. And so he didn't have a title for it. Peter didn't have a title, and so he named it after his son and called it Eric's Lullaby, which is wonderful. Only problem is it was a ragtime tune. So you can imagine what Eric's like now. But at any rate, this is called Eric's Lullaby. It goes like this. Here's a song I'd like you to help me sing. The chorus is simple. When the Michigan pine come tumbling down, when the Michigan pine come down. Let's try it. When the Michigan pine come tumbling down, when the Michigan pine come down. Now, folks, the clap is to symbolize an axe going into a tree. based on your performance, we wouldn't be clearing out much lumber. Let's try it one more time. When the Michigan pine come tumbling down, when the Michigan pine come down, A for the axe you very well know, B for the bullies who use it just so, C for the chopping that makes the woods ring, D for the danger we always are in. When the Michigan pine come tumbling down, and the Michigan pine come down, E for the echo that through the woods rang, F for the foreman, the head of our gang, G for the grindstone so often we turn, H for the handle so smoothly now worn. When the Michigan pine come tumbling down, when the Michigan pine come down, I for the iron that marketh the pine, J for the jolly boy never behind, K for the kinker the broad axes keep, L for the lice that keeps us from our sleep. Small game, remember? When the Michigan pine come tumbling down, when the Michigan pine come down, M for the moss that we stuffed in our camps, N for the needle we use on our pants, O for the owl that hoots all the night, P for the pine that falleth just right. When the Michigan pine come tumbling down, when the Michigan pine come down. Q for the quarreling on which we thrive, R for the river we love so to drive, S for the sleigh so stout and so strong, T for the team that hauls it along. When the Michigan pine come tumbling down, when the Michigan pine come down. U for the underwear, flannel and red, V for the valley which we lie our dead, W is the woods we leave each year, X stands for nothing a logger would hear. When the Michigan pine come tumbling down, when the Michigan pine come down. Y for the yells when the timber comes down, Z for the zeal of the dances in town. When the ring of the lumberjack's piano is o'er, it's back to the forest we'll venture once more. When the Michigan pine come tumbling down, when the Michigan pine come down, when the Michigan pine come tumbling down, when the Michigan pine come down. Very good. Usually I dedicate this song to people who plant things and nurture things, farmers and the like, and I certainly don't undedicate it to those folks today. But I am fascinated with the human spirit and the endeavors in which people seem to pursue. And a thing like Bishop Hill, I think, is very, very important to those of us who are not privileged to live within its friendly confines, because we can come and see a little of what life was like 100 years ago or so. And so this is dedicated to all the folks who helped Bishop Hill come up from the ashes. This is titled Fertile Ground. Grandma's out in the garden as soon as the hoe can break the sod. Out in the sun with the trusting God, in the circle of the seed, it's planting time and time to weed. And she'd say, just work the topsoil, don't dig too far down, leave a little bit of faith and work the fertile ground. Now the sun shines down and the soil rolls back, a new shoot rises through the crack. Now who could have thought it up like that? There's a hand in every birth, that knows just what the seed is worth. And she'd say, just work the topsoil, don't dig too far down, leave a little bit of faith and work the fertile ground. So stop your turning round and round. Don't sit and think your world apart. Some things you just see with your heart. Take a seed you want to grow, then place your hand upon the hoe. And you just work the topsoil. Don't dig too far down, leave a little bit of faith and work the fertile ground. Just work the topsoil, don't dig too far down, leave a little bit of faith and work the fertile ground. Work the fertile ground. Back in a little bit. Thank you very much.